What up, everyone? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Ropp Star Report today. Drop the link in there so people can join. And we already got Mets in here. Mets, I'm going to get to you here shortly, my friend. Just a couple things before we get started. Make sure as you're coming in, make sure you pound the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're new here, well, welcome. Appreciate everyone joining. My name's Clay Ropp, and I'm live basically every day, but I switched it up yesterday, did an edited video, got some shorts out to you. Basically just some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about yesterday on a live stream. I basically just made some shorts and made an edit video and haven't done that in a while. So if you haven't gone checked it out, it's the new video I uploaded yesterday was talking about the draft, right? Like how Carolina could possibly ruin the Bears draft. But again, go watch it. I break it down in there. I'm not going to harp too much about it because we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to let some people come in. I put the stream link in the chat. So if people want to come in, you're more than welcome to. And, definitely we'll start off the show. We're letting people get their minds open, let the people talk. So we're going to start off with that. Let's start with Mets first. And let's get it. All right, Mets. Let me fix this here. What's going on, brother?
Not much. I mean, I'm going to be blunt. That game against Atlanta on Sunday was the first Panther game I watched from beginning to end since the Houston matchup. Mm-hmm. That game was just atrocious.
Yeah.
I mean, only 15,000 showed up to a game where tickets were going for as low as 50 cents.
Right.
But then again, that's a consequence of having a hedge better like David Tepper running things.
Right.
And as for how we can screw over the Bears with the tank draft, we got to win at least this team's got to win at least 2 of its remaining 3 against Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, who they got left? Arizona on Christmas Eve. That's an easy win for them.
Should be.
Yeah. Then they got one, I think, against Green Bay in the finale. And I don't know who they have in between that.
Yeah. The thing is, Mets, is that them winning doesn't affect their draft.
I know. It's us winning that affects it. But the thing is, when you look at the teams behind us, Arizona, New England, Washington, well, behind Carolina anyway, Arizona, Washington,
mm-hmm.
New England, Washington, they're not terrible because they can at least put up fights from time to time, but they're still bad. The problem is, this Panther squad is even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Is it comparable to the 2010-2001 teams? Yes. But did those teams have any levels of incompetence in the front office back then? No. Mm-hmm. Say what you will about Jerry Richardson. At least at times he had a brain to bring the team a step up after a shit year.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at the remaining schedule, right? So we got Packers this week, right? We got the Jags next, and then we got to finish out the year with Tampa. So all these teams, right? The Packers are still trying to make that playoff push, right? But again, what Jordan Love are we going to see, right?
Yeah,
are we going to this weekend? What Jordan Love are we going to get? Are we going to get the Jordan Love that's going to go out there and throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns? Or are we going to get the Jordan Love that throws for 190 yards and 2 interceptions, right? The inconsistency is there.
At this point, all the Panthers can do to Green Bay is play spoilers. Not much they can is play spoiler to these teams. Not much you can do on the front of the Bucs, since by mathematical tiebreakers over New Orleans, they're currently leading the South.
Right.
You can screw over the Jaguars if the Colts beat the Falcons this week and the Jaguars fall to the Bucs.
Right. Again,
but the best matchup we have, at least on paper, that the Panthers have on paper, is against the Packers, and I see this as probably the only other win they're going to get for the rest of the year.
Right.
The way I'm looking at it, because again, Jordan Love extremely inconsistent. Some games he'll have good, some games he'll have bad, but he's not as terrible as Bryce Young. And this is the point where you pull the trigger and put Dalton under center.
Right. Jadarius, what you got for me?
Well, man, my opinion is, bro, is this season is pretty much dead to me as far as any type of hope of us winning anything or doing anything, man. As far as trades, we already are past the trade deadline, so there's not really anything we can do to the off season. And as far as winning, I really don't know, man, because of this offense, bro. It's so
It's shit.
lifeless at times, bro. The only
Yeah,
thing I can hope is that we can see some improvement from Bryce at this point, bro. Um, Personally, bro, I feel like as fans, we really should be looking ahead to next season right now. I'm hoping that they do trade Burns and get some draft capital back because the main focus of this offseason needs to be to build around Bryce and make Bryce as comfortable as we can, man. I know losing Burns may hurt our defense, but man, we gave up so much for Bryce. So the goal or main goal needs to be to build around him. That needs to be it, bro.
yeah,
It's
something
just
Carolina had never
it's
done.
sad, pretty sad,
Mhm.
man. Watching this season as a Panthers fan, man. Not that I even had us making the playoffs, but this bad, I didn't see it. I couldn't have predicted this one right here.
So my
I
question to you guys is, do you think the Panthers have a chance to be spoilers to the Bears and win any more games of the rest of this season to make the Bears not get that first overall pick? Right? Because,
Hmm.
you know, is it possible? Of course, I mean, yes. I mean, it is possible. NFL's full
Yeah,
of drama. Shit happens, right? I mean, can it happen? Sure. Right. I mean, we already did it with Atlanta last week, right? Because we sent
yeah.
them, they're going on vacation now, right? They're on going on vacation like we are. Derek Brown said it best. We sent them packing. And so the question is now, if we look at the remaining schedule, right? You got the Packers, you got the Jags, you got the Bucks. So we just broke down the Packers, right? Or which Jordan Love are we going to get, right?
Hmm.
Then we look at the Jaguars. Mets was saying, again, they've got again. It comes down to the whole Trevor Lawrence drama. Is he going to be available? Is he going to? How far is that injury? The concerns of his injury.
Hmm.
How where is that at? And then you go to Tampa. You got Tampa Bay. We played Tampa Bay close last time, but again, I mean, right now Baker Mayfield's playing one of his best
Yeah,
seasons he's had since his Cleveland days. But
yes,
again, we also
yeah.
know that Baker is also one of those guys who will go out there and fold like a cheap tent. So,
true.
can the question is here now, can Carolina, you know, mess up that draft order?
The only way they do that, they gotta win at least 1, 2 games at the most, and the
Hmm.
Patriots and Cardinals lose out. And I see that more logically happening with Arizona than I do with New England.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because who's the last game the Patriots have on their schedule? The Jets, a team they've beaten 15 times in a row.
Right, right.
Yeah, I definitely it depends on the Cardinals. I want to say I agree with Mets on that. But the one game that I do think that we do have a chance of winning is against the Packers. If the I feel like there's a chance with the Jags if Lawrence isn't healthy, but if they are healthy, I do see them beating us, and I can see the Bucks beating us. But the one game I do feel like we can get out of the three is definitely going to be the Packers.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, winning against the Jags or Bucks will be just relying on dumb luck. I mean,
Yeah,
Jacksonville's already careening off a cliff as it is, similar to how Tennessee did last year.
Right.
yeah, man.
So I'm gonna keep you all in here for this one. So actually, I'll probably keep if you all can stay as long as you want in this show
Okay.
today.
Okay.
So in this one, so we got Justin Houston. We have departure. Justin Houston got released yesterday. I said my thoughts, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts after I speak here. But again, once upon a time, we thought this guy could be a guy to come in, help
Hmm.
out with the pass rush on the other side. He's kind of making a quiet exit here. He had a whopping of, zero point 0.5 sacks into his name. He's leaving the tip of a hat. Hopefully, wave a, something greener and hopefully finds a better home. Like he said, he wants
Yeah.
a contender. And that dynamic duo dreams between him and Burns turned out to be more of a catnap than a roar, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's all part of the game, and the Panthers are pivoting away from him, and it's a we tried and it didn't work out. I mean, what do y'all think? What's y'all's reaction to this?
To be honest, I'm not all that shocked that it was a bust. And when you consider what we had to work with, a D coordinator who seldom was able to get this team to hold the line, an O coordinator and a head coach who had no clue what they were doing with this team.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now relying on our special teams coordinator as the coach for the rest of the year. And we know he's probably going to get fired at the end of the season. I mean, seriously, they never should have let Steve Wilkes go.
Jadarius, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts is like Met said, I'm not surprised, man. I wasn't really that high on Houston to begin with, man. I think even before then we seen some signs that maybe he wasn't the same player that he used to be. So it's just like whatever, or I really don't care because he really didn't do much for us, man. And I feel like in our situation, maybe we didn't do as much as we could have done for him either. So it's not anything to really be mad or cry about, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. I feel you. All right. So next we got the power rankings puzzle, man. I mean, we had that nail biter against the Falcons, and we were just kind of speaking upon that a little bit. And obviously, one might expect the Panthers to maybe move up a little bit in the ranks, but obviously there's no cuddling here. We're right there still at that 32nd spot. And I was reading something on David Newton. He dropped a stat bomb, and it makes you question if someone's really playing Madden. It's like playing Madden on easy difficulty and setting 0 plays with, a fourth quarter leads. And seriously, I mean, the Panthers is what they are. Is this a new strategy, or is it just some Advent performance of art, right? I mean, the quest for this like Christmas Eve miracle against the Packers is on. And maybe a win will finally convince ESPN that the Panthers aren't secretly, auditioning for that remake of Groundhog Day. If y'all have ever seen that movie, so I mean, are y'all surprised? Are y'all surprised about this? About us being ranked 32nd?
That's that 1993 Bill Murray horror comedy, right?
Yeah.
Where he relives the same day but dies, and each day gets progressively worse with how it happens.
Right. I mean, are y'all surprised that that we're ranked 32nd in the polls?
Really?
No, I mean, even after that win, when you look at the circumstances, it was a mud bowl. Hardly anyone bothered to show up. Low ticket prices, and the fact that all the Panthers could do was play spoiler to Atlanta. And to be fair, Atlanta still has a small shot to get in. It just requires Minnesota, Los Angeles, New Orleans, and Tampa to screw up and for them to win out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Jadarius, what you got?
I'm not really surprised, man. As I said, man, the offense, while it has looked to have a little promise to it, it hasn't really changed that much, man. Like, it was not a game where I just felt happy or confident that we won, man. It felt like we just won by the teeth of our skin, man. And our defense, while it hasn't been bad, it hasn't been. I won't say it hasn't been a great defense either. It's been kind of middle of the road with the injuries and all of the drama surrounding this team, man. So personally, I'm not really surprised, man. Especially with our offense, bro. It's a chore to watch, man. So I'm not surprised.
I feel you,
man.
and that's why I haven't even done the game film breakdown this week. I'm tired of breaking down the game film. I'm just tired of breaking down the game film. That's why I've been switching it up this week for everyone. So But it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not surprised. Again, we know who we are. We've seen what this team can do, can and can't do, and we just can't find the end zone. That's another issue.
Yeah.
Let's move on. So Steve Smith has got a nice little redemption tale here, in a plot twist. I think it's more like a plot twist of like a Hollywood script, right? Steve Smith is kind of making that triumphant return. It's not to the field. It's obviously to the Hall of Fame. Relatively Triple Crown glory. He's had his journey. I think that if you read his story, it's more inspiring than some rocky training montage. In my opinion, it's a bitter departure to the Ravens is now a distant memory. Right when Smith went over there,
Yeah.
and this prodigal son that I'd like to call him, is kind of returning back to the Panthers to embrace that Hall of Fame induction. And it's about time. And it's like seeing your favorite character in a movie finally getting the recognition that it deserves.
Yeah.
Or I guess in the show or in a show, right? In that series finale. So what are y'all's thoughts on Steve Smith getting the recognition that he deserves?
From the NFL or from the team?
From the team.
Oh, so Team Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Well, I could say it's about time. I mean, he was part of that era of Panthers football that you could say was part of a pseudo renaissance from 2003 up until around 2013, 10 or 11 when he flew the coop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he was a vital piece to that puzzle. And yes, his departure could have been handled better.
Definitely.
Could have been handled better. But at least he at least got a ring out of it in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
definitely happy
at
he
the end of
did.
the day, he's a Panther first. So I'm happy for the guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Darius, what you got for me?
I'm very happy to see it, man. It was well deserved, man. One of the best Panthers players of all time, man. I wish we could have saw more of him and Cam Newton. I would have loved to see that, man. I didn't really like how they handled the departure. I felt it was kind of disrespectful, so I'm glad for him. I'm happy for him, man.
Right. All right, let's move on, boys. All right, so we got this coaching carousel, and this is something that I wanted to harp on today because we have now obviously we're in the running, right, for these coaching vacancy, but obviously there's others that probably is going, there are, besides the Chargers and LA and us. I mean, the Washington Commanders haven't fired their head coach yet. New England hasn't. Chicago hasn't. But again, I feel like these guys, as you can see in the list here, these are all the hottest head coaching vacancies right now. As you can see, from 1 through 5, I have ranked them from the stability of where they're going to, who I think is going to be the hottest head coaching. Right? You got the Chicago Bears, and let's talk about them first. All right, because they're number 1, and from my, you look at the power rankings and all that, blah 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 blah. But the coaching vacancy definitely is number 1, has to be the Chicago Bears because they've had coaching catastrophes for years. The Bears now have the golden ticket. They have that number 1 pick. How long that, if, again, like we were talking at the beginning of the show, unless, obviously we do some spoiling. Now, again, cap space, the defensive talent they've got there. You got a promising in Justin Fields. Do they stick with him? Again, there's also rumors because everybody thinks that they're going to take Caleb Williams. But again, there is a rumor out there that I need to harp on, which I will harp on sometime this week. But Caleb Williams is there is rumors that Caleb Williams might not be coming into this draft because there has been an NIL deal that has been sent to Mr. Williams from the Ohio State University, and apparently it's worth over $20 million. Now, we all know who Caleb Williams is. We all know that his personality sucks. he wants 10% of ownership wherever he goes, wherever he gets drafted. But he also has an issue too, that he wants to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks in college football history, and has unfinished business, and he wants to win a national title. So still though, if they keep Justin Fields, they go Marvin Harrison, whatever they do, right? It's still a coaching dream because of what the base and the canvas that has been built there with more potential, right? They have more over there in Chicago. They have more potential than a Marvel superhero. Okay. The possibilities are vast, and the Bears are the Mona Lisa of coaching prospects, in my opinion.
Marvel superhero, right? Not the crap Disney pumps out nowadays.
Right. So, what do you think? What do you think about the Chicago Bears, Mets?
I could see that, but when compared to the last several years, this with where they sit 5-9, it's not as big a catastrophe as it was when, say, last year. Granted, last year Fields got banged up and they couldn't use him for the rest of the year. So that was a major hindrance. Fields being on the field more frequently this year has done what it can to limit damage control for the Bears. So if there is a vacancy with this one, I'm not sure if there will be one in the head coaching spot. If we wanted to add a number 7 coaching vacancy to this carousel, put the New York Jets in this.
Okay.
Because Robert Saleh, great defensive mind, but he's got to go because he's incompetent offensively. And speaking of next in line, let's look at number 2, the LA Chargers. This was a no-brainer going into this year that sooner or later Staley's goose was going to get cooked because of his own incompetence with the offense.
Yeah, I mean the LA Chargers is really the city of lights right now for coaching vacancy. It's the Hollywood of the NFL. There's drama, there's galore, there's little cap trouble. You got a franchise quarterback and Justin Herbert. I mean, and the roster does need a makeover in certain holes that they do have. It's a mixed bag there, right? But a savvy coach could turn that into a blockbuster of a franchise all over again. Definitely. I mean, you just need a touch of glamour, a dash of restructure, and your star director, as in the next head coach, could make a big impact there.
Yeah, Brandon Staley sure didn't do it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jadarius, on the Bears and Chargers?
Definitely the 2 top coaching vacancies in the league right now, man. Well, I mean, they haven't fired Getsy yet, but I do think they are going to fire him eventually, man. I just think they should go ahead and just move on from him, man. I definitely am excited to see what they do, man. Chicago are in a position of where they cannot screw this up, man. They are going to have 2 picks that are going to be in the top 10. This is their chance to shore up their franchise for the next decade or so. So I don't know what they're going to do in terms of drafting a QB or keeping Justin Fields. I'm 50-50 on it because I feel like if you do keep Justin Fields and you do build around him, what if he isn't the guy? And then a lot of people are talking about the 2025 draft, but a lot of people don't realize, man, that if you keep talking about the next draft, it's not really as I want to say it's not really as productive because the draft is like throwing darts. You don't know whether somebody's going to be good or whether somebody's going to be a bust. So yeah, man, I can really hope if they do decide to build around Fields that he does rise up and does reach his full potential and become one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And they can also bring in another guy such as Caleb Williams and Drake May. But at the same time, with the way we've seen Chicago develop quarterbacks, are we really 100% confident they could develop either one of those guys into a great quarterback?
No.
So, yeah, man, it's 50-50 for me, man, but I feel like they're not this time. They may not screw it up like they've been doing as an organization. And with the Chargers, man, it was time for Brandon Staley to go, man. That guy was just sitting out there and watching the game and watching shit unfold like us, man. That guy wasn't really doing his job to the ability that he should have, man.
True.
I'm very excited to see what coach does end up in Los Angeles. I've been hearing Bill Belichick, and I wouldn't be mad because there is talent there. As long as they don't put him in any GM roles, it will be fine. But as a head coach, I think Belichick could work with the Chargers. So yeah, man.
Now,
Yeah, I
I
mean, and so
definitely.
as we continue to move on through these vacancies, so then you got, as you can see, that number 3 spot, you got New England, right?
right
Right.
here.
This has been an empire from, for years, right? And the Patriots have inheriting a mansion with and basically now it's like a mansion with a leaky roof, right? But then what you got, Bill Belichick's era is probably coming to an end, and here's your chance
Mhm.
to dust off those trophies, rebuild a legacy there, right? And owner Robert Kraft's success is your safety net, right? And with a bit of quarterback magic that they had, this job could ultimately become that ultimate like under construction success story. And then as for the Raiders, because we're going to go this by twos here, as for the Raiders, in a
Yeah.
city that never sleeps, you're in Vegas. It's everybody loves Vegas.
Yeah.
The coaching seek is more like a slot machine. So it only pans out and when you challenge it, right? I mean, and you have to keep, you know, pulling that lever, hoping that it
He gets
hits.
the
And
sevens.
so Josh McDaniels came, saw, left, right, faster than a Vegas wedding, right? And then the roster is aging like a fine wine, but the owner Mark Davis is thirsty for a win. We know that, and a rebuild is on the cards, right? And hey, who can't resist the allure of bright lights and the potential of a fresh start there, right? Roll the dice with the
Mhm.
coach. You got a Jacoby Myers, you got Devontae Adams, you got Josh Jacobs. They're probably going to move on from Renfro. They got a fresh talent at tight end. The biggest issue, you got a future Hall of Famer in Max Crosby at that on off the edge. The
Yeah.
biggest issue there is rebuilding that the offensive line and that defense there in Vegas. But Mets, we'll start with you first. Give me your thoughts on both New England and the Raiders.
In regards to the Patriots, you figured it wasn't a matter of if, but when Kraft was finally going to cut Belichick loose. I mean, Belichick is the archetypical old school stubborn jackass kind of a coach. He won't leave until he gets more titles than anyone. But in truth, most of the time, at least a quarter of the titles he has, 8 of them to be exact, come under the Bill Parcells learning tree. When he tried to branch off into his own learning tree and produce coaches of his own for success, many of the coaches, other than himself, have been colossal failures. The only two that seem to have a level of competent success, at least out of the most recent
Mhm.
crop who've come out from under the learning tree, have been Brian Dable for the Giants and Dan Campbell for the Lions. I mean, debatable with Dable, but when you given the fact that he has offensive coaching staff that's basically doing everything they can to circumvent and sabotage him, what do you expect? And at this point, I'm not sure where Belichick would land. I mean, maybe he could go back to the Jets if they sack Saleh, something he should have done years ago. But at that point, too little, too late. As for Belichick, I say just right off in the sunset, you got 6 titles as a coach and never come back. On the flip side, while Antonio Pierce isn't terrible, I think you should try giving him a shot with the full reins for a year.
Mm.
Okay.
Maybe 2 at the most with Antonio. I mean, is it that old legacy giant bias within me bubbling to the surface? Yeah. But everyone deserves a second chance. And as far as I'm concerned, Pierce deserves that chance as a coach. Even if he'll never get it as a player. Or again.
So, guys, as you're coming in to the show, make sure you pound that like button. This show today is for guys to come, for you guys as fans, subs, and everybody who supports the channel to come on in and just give your thoughts as the topics that I go through. I've been trying to do more of these lately, and I really do appreciate these guys coming in. So Jadaris, what do you got on the Vegas and the New England approach?
Um, I mean, I don't know what Vegas is going to do, but I definitely do think Vegas does have potential to right the ship. My main issue with Vegas has been Josh McDaniels. I don't understand how the hell this man keeps getting head coaching jobs. He doesn't know what he's doing. They got rid of him, so that's already a plus, man. I would like if they gave Pierce another chance, but I don't know if they are going to. But all I have to say, man, if they land a competent mind in Las Vegas, they can turn that around, man. All they, like you said, all they have to do is shore up their defense and offensive line, man. They have some offensive weapons on that team and draft a quarterback, which is something I think that they're going to do. I think that the quarterback that comes into this Raiders situation is going to have it easy simply because of the weapons on that team and the veterans on that team. So I definitely think that's something that Vegas should be looking at or focusing on. Just getting the right quarterback, sharing up the whole line, sharing up the defense, find them a coach, man. And I feel like they can fix that situation with the Patriots, man. It's a tough one. It's going to be a tough one to fire Bill Belichick, but you have to at this point with the GM decisions, man. As a coach, I do not think that he's bad, but as a GM, I'm just not a fan of it, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it's been all bad. He has had some hits, but we know for a fact that he's had more misses than hits as a coach. So
Mhm.
At least this year he
not a coach, I mean a GM. But yeah, man, it's time for them to move on past him. And I'm hoping that they can find some offensive pieces on their team because I think that the quarterback coming to this Patriots situation, man, he may have it tough. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Mac Jones was just this great prospect, but at the same time, he did come into a situation where he did not have the greatest weapons. So I feel like the Patriots should be trying to focus on um, just getting a new head coach, fixing that offense, and drafting a quarterback and developing them. So
Yep.
yeah, that's pretty much my take on the two teams, man.
Mhm.
But I might want to say out on this list, I probably put Vegas before New England just because it's Vegas in a location that's going to
Mhm.
be like a sexy location for coaches to come into, man, rather than New England. So
Mhm.
I agree
we'll
with that.
see what happens.
Yeah, and then so that we'll get to the Panthers last here because they're definitely last on this list. But let's harp on the Washington Commanders real quick because they're where dysfunction kind of meets deja vu, right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
that's where it is. You know, dysfunction meets deja vu. Ron Rivera's second stint is like trying to turn a rom com into a horror movie. It's not working, and the roster's missing more pieces than a jigsaw puzzle under the couch. I mean,
Yeah.
with a future as murky as a swamp in Washington, coaching here is a less dream because um, it's a never ending rebuilding project there, and you got to bring that hard hat, and you'll need it. I think though with
Yeah.
Washington, even if they fire Riverboat Ron, they're going to end up probably hiring Eric Bieniemy again. Eric Bieniemy might want out, but I could see them already having their coach right there in their hands,
Hmm.
and Eric Bieniemy. And you can see that Kansas City's definitely missing him over there because of what
Yeah.
he has done with Sam Howell. I mean, Sam Howell was what, a fourth, fifth round pick,
Hmm.
and look what he's doing with him. And then you look at what's going on in Kansas City over there. Those guys are dropping more balls than 15-year-old virgins. So it it's tough. It's tough. But again, I think Washington, You know, it's always been that never-ending rebuilding project. Their culture has been lacking, and they've got a guy there who could be a culture change in Eric Bieniemy, and I think that's why I put them at 5. I probably could move actually Washington to 6 because they have a guy there. But again, we'll talk more about the Panthers in a minute. But Mets, you're up first. What do you got for me on the Commanders?
With Washington, the Commanders are like the city they're stuck in, stymied by constant corruption and stupidity from the front office. I mean, Dana Snyder was probably one of, if not the most corrupt owners in the last 20 years in the National Football League. True or false?
Oh,
True.
for sure.
I mean, you figure with him gone, things would get better for the Commanders. And at first, winning 3 of your first 4 seemed like they were on the right track. But since then, what's happened? They've lost 9 of their last 10. And mathematically out of playoff contention. Riverboat Ron's always been a double or nothing kind of coach. And while successful in Carolina, it didn't translate well here over in Washington. I mean, the guy was even so stupid enough to realize that the game against Cleveland last year was for the playoff lives. It was for the Commanders' playoff lives, and they screwed it up. They had a chance to get in as the 7th seed back on Christmas Eve, and they botched it last season.
Yep. Darius, over to you.
Darius? You there?
There, you guys can hear me?
Yeah.
I got you.
It's time to get rid of Riverboat Ron, man. I wanted to see him do well as, he was our coach, but man, it just has not gone as well as you probably expected, man. So I gotta agree with a lot of Commanders fans on that standpoint.
Especially when you consider that
Yeah.
the only reason they won the division crown in 2020 was because the Eagles took a dive.
Yeah, man. It's just been kind of a clown show over there, man. And it's time to move on for Riverboat Run, and it's time to give Eric Bieniemy the chance as a head coach. I'm very excited to see him get his chance because he's been kind of overlooked, and other coaches have been considered over him. So I'm glad to see him finally get his opportunity, man. But they are going to have to do some work in this draft to because they have to build on their defense and they have to uh build around Sam Howell too. So hey man, it's going to be easier said than done. But hey man, I feel like there's a chance they could do it within the off season and in the draft, especially with a great offensive mind like Eric Bieniemy. So my hats are my hats are off to them. Hopefully they make the right decision and they do not let Bieniemy go.
I feel you. I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. So now let's get to the main culprit as to this show. And of course, it's always about the Carolina Panthers here. But it's always fun to always bring up other NFL teams. So picture this, right? You're in the coaching world. And the Carolina Panthers job is your last resort. The basement suit of gigs. Let's be honest. Okay. Why? Well, it's just, let's just say David Tepper. But we'll just start with that.
I can think of a job that's even worse than the Panthers coaching job right now.
I mean, yeah, but he fancies himself as a play caller maestro, apparently, right? I mean, he's that friend, right? He's that friend. Like David Tepper is that friend who never lets you finish a sentence in Madden before suggesting a Hail Mary. And that's like basically the only saving grace, right? And is Bryce Young that saving grace? I don't know. I think it's hard for us to evaluate that right now. But remember, hope isn't a strategy, and we've been relying on hope. Our GM has been absolutely horrendous when it comes to scouting talent and trading, drafting, signing the adequate players here. If we go back and look at the drafts of who we passed up on, right? I mean, just to mention some names, right? Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons, Justin Fields, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The list goes on in that aspect of things.
Avon Thibodeau.
Right. I mean, it's a wishful thinking with a football helmet, right? I mean, that is what it is here right now. We basically, over the years, have screwed ourselves into the situation we have. We traded our mortgage away for Bryce Young. And Jadarius, I know you're a Bama boy, and I hate to say this, but was it real? Is right now? Is it really? Was he really worth all that? And in my opinion, no. I hate to say it. I wasn't high on Bryce in this draft.
I knew practically from the start it wasn't going to pan out well.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, I wasn't high on him in the draft. I had AR-15 at 1. I had CJ Stroud 2. And then I had, Bryce at 3. But now if we're looking at everything, it's Stroud 1, probably AR-15 2. I think you still put him at least in the top 2 because, we really didn't get to see what he has because of the injuries. But the guy's arm talent, the athleticism that you see out of AR-15 speaks for itself. Will Levis, who likes mayonnaise in his coffee, is outperforming, the prodigal son of Bryce Young. And, whether that, we can all say it's circumstances. We can all say
he legitimately like mayonnaise in his coffee.
Yeah, he does. He also eats bananas with the peel on as well. So again, it's a part of me wants to, I want Bryce to succeed, because what we gave up for him, that's the biggest thing here. But again, at the end of the day, we might have to cut. Here's the scenario that might end up happening. Whoever our next GM and our next head coach may be, there could be a scenario where they do a Josh Rosen move because GMs and coaches could be on the same page and say, hey, we don't want Bryce as our quarterback, and they could end up trading him. That's a scenario that has happened in the NFL before. It's happened multiple times. It could happen again here in Carolina. Not saying that is going to happen, but we will see how it pans out. Again, I think this is I want to say that this is like a Trevor Lawrence situation where he was trash his first year. When they finally put some talent around him, he was able to succeed. And I think that could be a situation here. But again, there are also some issues with Bryce. We've seen it. I've been harping about it. It's his footwork, his tippy toes. He's standing too far outside the pocket. His drop step back is too outside of the pocket. The ball that we have seen some great throws, but again, it's too inconsistent for me. I need to see the 90-yard drive we saw on Sunday. I need to see that for all 4 quarters. And again, until I see that happening, I don't know what the situation is in Carolina until we actually bring in some adequate talent, whether that means if it is for Bryce, great. If it isn't for Bryce and then they move on from him and we bring somebody else in, fine as well. But at least we have our future when it comes to these young talent, like the wide receiver position, the talent in the tight end group, the defensive line, right? The holes that we need to fill, even on the offensive line. Then we can see what where we stand. What are y'all's thoughts?
I would agree on those regards, but how we can even do that if someone takes a club and bludgeons Tepper in the head until he gets his head out of his ass and realizes done to this team is done more harm than good. As regards to the coaching carousel, I don't care who we get. I mean, if we were to pick, there's one coach I do not want, and that's Joe Judge. You saw what he did to the Giants the 2 years he was there. The guy was a damn coward.
I feel you on that. So, Jadarius, what do you got for me on the Panthers? You sent me a message on Instagram, and we talked about it last night. What give me your thoughts.
Well, man, like I said, man, like you said, I'm a huge Bama fan, and I want to see Bryce succeed badly, man. this was kind of like a dream for me simply because I've been watching this kid since high school and I watch him overcome so much. But man, this situation that he's in, man, I'm not confident that he will overcome it, man. In between the situation he's in and some of the flaws that he's shown, I can only hope at this point he can overcome this, man. I'm hoping that Carolina truly does hire a GM that's going to stand up against Tepper and get in Tepper's face and won't allow Tepper to make him a puppet, but actually confront Tepper on decisions and things like that because Tepper does not know what the hell he's doing, man. When it comes to this football team, man, this guy is running a damn clown show. This is a real circus. I know I said that about the Commanders, but this is an even bigger circus here, man. To the point where I'm thinking to myself, man, Dan Snyder might have been a better owner than Tepper.
Right.
It's gotten that bad, man. So to me, man, I definitely hope Tepper gets the guy who's best for the job and not the guy that's best that he can best control, man. And as far as a head coach, man, I really want
So you're
Brian.
saying the
I want
biggest issue.
not Brian, but I want Ben Johnson to come in, man. But we'll see what happens with the head coaching thing, man.
So
I,
your basic issue is you want someone who's a free thinker,
yeah,
not someone who can be a puppet for Tepper.
yeah, we definitely need that, man. Because, like I said, man, Tepper does not know what he's doing, bro. It's to the point where I think that me, you, and Clay could probably run this whole entire organization better than he can. It's that sad, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm just sick. I'm sick of the Tepper bullshit at this point. I
Right.
never was really that big of a fan of him from the get go. I felt like he seemed like a controlling guy that thought his way was best, and I've been proven to be right through these past few years, man. I've argued with fans about it. We went back and forth about Tepper, and I'm like, I don't doubt that this guy wants to win, but this guy doesn't want to go through the steps to win. He wants to try to rush to get there and hop over the important things. It's like when you're cooking something, man. This guy
Right.
wants to cook something without the recipe to it. He wants to rush to it, and that has cost us. And I'm ready to see Scott Fitterer go too, man, because all of his blockbuster deals and trades have backfired on us and hurt us long term, man. So I'm ready for Scott Fitterer to go. I'm hoping after this game on Sunday or the game that's the Sunday after next. I'm getting a notification that Scott Fitterer is gone, bro, because I truly do feel like he's been taking credit for other people's success in Seattle, man. And he is not that great mind that, you know, we may have thought he was when he came in. So, yeah, man. And
Yeah.
like I said, dude, hoping we find that GM that's going to stand on business, that's not going to come here and take a bunch of bullshit for Tepper and confront him on decisions. And as far as the head coach, man, I'm hoping for Ben Johnson, but pretty much everybody but Joe Judge and I'm trying to forget what's the guy that's the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. I don't want him either.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah, Dan Quinn. I don't want him either. But
I
besides
understand.
those two, man, I'm fine with whoever it is on that list. But it has to start up front with the GM and the owner before we can talk about head coaches, man. That's all
For
I have to
sure.
say.
All right, let's get into this live press conference. Let's hear what Bryce has to say.
Where it is now. I'm super grateful for that.
Where were you? He was a pretty accomplished quarterback at one time.
No, I'm aware. He'll let
He
you know.
accomplished
He'll,
my
he'll, he'll let
ass.
you know about it. He'll tell you about the West Virginia days for sure.
When you play a game in that kind of environment, do you look at the film in a different kind of lens about what you were able to accomplish or what some of the mistakes or pros might have been?
You factor it in for sure. Again, we understood what it was, and we knew that going in. So you have a little bit of you factor that in of what you could have done better, what you didn't do as well, and then again you're able to see certain levels of execution and know if you could do it in those elements, you should be able to do it consistently, and then also the stuff that still have to clean up and get better at that is not an excuse for that either. So you count for it, but you're still able to learn from it.
Back to Vashti's question about scrambling. Do you think you've gotten better sliding at the end of any of those runs?
I like to hope so. I don't think it's a whole lot better. I feel like I've taken some baby steps. Definitely better than like college, but I wouldn't put myself at like a star student yet. So we're growing, work in progress.
Athlete, are you taking in the Jumpman Invitational later, or?
I was there last night. Yeah, I was there. Really, really great event. Yeah, it was really cool to watch.
Were you ready for the game to end after when they hit the second overtime? Were you just like, or were you happy for more basketball?
I'm a basketball fan,
Yeah.
so it was cool to it was cool to see. It was a really good game. I enjoyed it.
You have a preference for Michigan? Did you? Were you rooting for anybody?
I wasn't really rooting for anybody. They had Michigan, their guard number 0. I don't know his name, but he was nice. I kind of ended up rooting for Michigan because of that. He was cold, but he was super nice.
That crowd on Sunday was probably one of the smallest you played in front of since Little League. Is there anything you want to say to the fans that stayed for that game through the whole time?
Damn.
Yeah, you got to preference it with it.
Small
being,
since
it
Little
being
League.
pouring outside and super cold. So, that's a big reason why there weren't as many people there. But for the people that did come, I'm super, super grateful. Not an easy environment to go out, but we still had a lot of people come out and support. And that means a lot for myself, us as a team. We feed off the fans, off the energy, and that means a lot. So us as a team, we're super grateful for that.
Best Christmas movie.
Polar Express for me.
Ugh.
You kind of laughed when I mentioned Saban being a quarterback. So you take him seriously as a good quarterback, or?
Oh, you don't. Of course, you don't get. You don't get the way he is. You don't win as much, have the culture he has with. That's not something that just snaps overnight. That's something he's been building his whole life. So I know it started very early.
So what stories did he tell you? You said
You're gonna kill me if I tell those. I can't tell all the, I can't tell. I can't say everything.
Guys, I
Man,
appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make
it's
sure you
the
pound that like button
birthday,
as you're coming in.
Still, locked in. Got a game, working towards Sunday. You got to catch me on a better day. But Coach Saban, he's again, everyone sees like how he is on the outside, and that is a side of him. He's it's not a front, but he has another side that you have to be a player and you have to work to kind of get out and earn. But anybody who's gone there, not just they'll tell you he has another side, for just the team, and you kind of have to be there to experience it. But he's a great dude to be around. Appreciate you guys.
All right, let's see if they got anything else. Wasn't a lot of great questions. It was just him really. I mean, he was talking about his accountability and how he's got to get better. And then, really, that was about it. And then they were just asking him fun questions. Not really much to that press conference, honestly. So, all right, let's get back into it, guys. Y'all still good to stick around, or y'all need to hop off?
I can stick around for a little bit.
Same here.
All right. We'll keep the ball rolling then. All right, so let's move on. Let's get into this next fun little topic I've put together. So I put together guys that I think deserve a second chance and the next regime here in the Carolina in 2024. These guys I picked out because of their performances and what we've seen. And some of these guys I've even mentioned YGM in his name about how maybe he could be a trade piece. But again, we really need to recognize these guys and what they have shown in the trenches. And the first guy, speaking of trenches, let's talk about Nick Thurman. So he is rugged in the trenches, and that's where mud meets galore, right? Nick Thurman has silently emerged really as a defensive dynamo here for the Carolina Panthers, and his gritty feats may not grace the highlight reel, right? He's not one of those guys who's going to get the sacks, who's going to get the motion picture plays, right? Thurman's strength against the run has become a secret weapon within this team, I feel like, and coaches the silent architects of triumph, which is Evero over there. I mean, you got to give a shout out to that guy as well.
Yeah.
Approve, the tenacity on this defensive front. The Panthers are aiming to really fortify their defensive front. Thurman's has played excellent and demands and he deserves, and I think, a second chance here in 2024. What are y'all's thoughts on Nick Thurman?
I think he deserves another shot, especially with how well he's been playing defensively. The problem is we got a crap defensive coordinator, crappy head coach, or had one, and now we just have one who's trying to limit damage control, crappy front office, crappy owner.
Yeah.
Do you think Evero is crappy?
To some levels.
Okay.
Um.
Jadarius, what you got?
Yeah, man. I definitely do think we should keep Thurman, man. He is looking like a diamond in the rough, man. Um. Yeah, I think we should keep Thurman, man, and I think we should keep Evero. I feel like he has done the best he can with what he has had, simply
Mhm.
because of the injuries and the head coaching situation. It definitely do think that we should bring Evero back, give him another chance. Definitely would love to see us give Thurman another chance also.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Chuba Hubbard. I mean, this guy has been the limelight of our running game. I mean, the journey of what this guy has gone through since he's gotten here has been a saga of resilience for this kid. Despite some early setbacks in the running back jigsaw puzzle that we have, I think Hubbard has really preserved himself. You had the Christian McCaffrey injury saga,
Yeah.
and then the Matt Rule's exit stage left over there, and Hubbard cedes the spotlight.
Combined with the CMC trade to San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he has been a dynamic force. He's been basically the shining light in this offense. And he's got great vision, he's got great explosiveness, he's got a knack of absorbing contact, and he makes defenders miss. He kind of does everything you really want in a running back, and he's finally started to show that. And a lot of people before the season started was really giving him not a shot, really. I mean, because they didn't like the way that he plays, and he didn't like that he couldn't catch the ball, and there was all that excuses, or not excuses, but criticism that he was receiving. And now that they've reset under new leadership, they've been crafting this offense around Hubbard, which could be a lynch point into their strategy, which this offensive line is built anyways for the running game anyway.
Fan, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what's y'all's thoughts on Chuba Hubbard?
He definitely needs another shot. The problem is he needs a lot of run blocking help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's something this Panther O-line can't do with the holes it's got.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, Mitch. I do definitely agree with you, man. I do feel like we definitely need to shore up that O line some more for him. I definitely do think Hubbard deserves another chance, man. Now I'm regretting that we ever did sign Miles Sanders, because Hubbard looks so good and so promising, man. Every time I've seen this guy just come alive within this season, man. And I don't know why I see Panthers fans mocking running backs in the draft next year. I feel like we need to be sticking with this guy right here. I feel like he is the future right now, and he has potential, man. I don't feel like we need to be looking at a running back in this draft coming up. What we need to be doing is building that O line so this running back we have can flourish.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Another guy, as you can see, there's YGM in the background there. Obviously position change. We weren't really sure if he, was going to be worth that second round pick. We were all skeptic about him, right? We all had our skepticisms about him. We saw this offseason he was working with Brian Burns after, within training camp, after, and after training camp, right? And we saw a lot of videos about that. And he has orchestrated an evolutionary spectacle on that other side, in my opinion. I think YGM should have been there. Obviously, injuries was the issue. That's why we didn't really get to see him as much. But now that they've shifted this whole defensive end from a 4-3 to a 3-4 outside linebacker, he really has hit his stride, in my opinion. And he's not going to be that guy, because when you break down the game film, and I was watching it, so, Derek Brown's a disruptor. He's not a guy who's going to get all the sacks. He'll get some sacks, but it's the same thing with YGM. That's what helps Brian Burns out on the other side, and Luvu and these guys. YGM has been that guy that's great against the run. He has improved in the passing rushing game. He's got that finesse in that pass rushing game. He becomes really basically a disruptor to where the other guys that come in, like Burns or Derek or or Luvu, to get the sack. And he's that guy that helps him set it up. Now, obviously, like I said, through injuries, tested his medley, and his growth signals a player deserving of a prolonged spotlight. Now, with his rookie contract, which is on his last legs, with a 1 year, 2 year extension, might be a nice little catalyst for him to see what he really can be, and if he's fully healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What are y'all's thoughts?
I think maybe keep him around. I mean, what's his position?
He's outside linebacker. He was where Justin Houston was.
But he was originally in the middle or inside, right?
No, he was originally a defensive end.
I mean, if you have to move him again, I say try move him to the edge.
I understand what you're saying, but he's actually played better in the outside position. He's had more. He's done more in that outside position.
True.
What are your thoughts, Jadarius?
I say give him a chance, man. He's one player that's probably been the most scrutinized by his fan base.
Right.
YGM, man, that guy was the butt of all jokes within the Panthers fan base, man. So to see him becoming a better player and making better strides, man, is a good thing, man. I love to see people just overcome the hate train and the mob mentality that fan bases can show at times. So yeah, man. I say give him another chance, man. Why not, man? We don't have anybody that's looking better at that position right now.
Right. And you probably could sign him for a cheap extension. Honestly, you probably won't have to fork out too much money. Last but not least, Amir Smith-Marsette. We kind of got to really, I felt like this last game, and we got to, as time has gone on, we started to see a little bit more of this kid kind of be like a little gadget player. Like I mentioned, I made a short about this, be that little gadget player on the offense to kind of like expand and open up the offense a little bit more. We got to see his speed. Now we know we got him from Kansas City. He has that flash of speed and versatility, like I was saying, that you got to see. Now it was obviously at the start, he had a sluggish start. He's kind of unveiled himself, I think, as a dynamic weapon. And his pace, his aggression, especially against the Falcons, he kind of painted a canvas of the potential impact that he could have on the field for this offense. Now, obviously, we're in a sea of emerging wide receivers like Mingo. I would say, the youth from Smith and his adaptability kind of make him a alluring prospect, because, as we navigate through this offseason, the next 3 games could script a narrative for this kid and his destiny here in Carolina. What are your guys' thoughts on him?
If he's a viable gadget offensive piece, keep him. Or is he a defensive piece?
Amir Marsette's an offensive piece.
Okay, keep him around. Tight end or a running back?
He's a wide receiver, but he does kick returns, punt returns, all that as well.
Keep him around, and hopefully he's Kadarius Toney done right.
Well, I will say this: he had 4 rushes for 33 yards, and they used him in a lot of sweeps and stuff like that. And then he had 2 catches in that game as well. So he's like I said, that's why he's very versatile in that aspect of things.
Yeah, I say keep him too, man. Why not, man? Give this kid a chance to prove himself, man. Especially in the position that we're in right now, bro. We need to be focusing on developing all of the offensive talent we can, man.
We also need to focus on sabotaging Chicago using our pick to get top bidding.
I understand that. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all coming in. Y'all were the only ones that came in today. I'm gonna finish out the show myself. I appreciate y'all coming on, and of course, always showing your support to my channel and the work that I do. So I just want to give y'all a short nice little hand clap. So thank you. So thank you for joining the live stream, and don't go anywhere though. Don't go anywhere. But I'm gonna finish up. I'm gonna finish out the show, my friends. I'm gonna finish out the show.
All right, man.
So I appreciate y'all joining, and we'll definitely do this again soon.
All right.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks, Mets. Thanks, Jadarius. Appreciate y'all coming on.
Peace out. Merry Christmas, Clay.
All right, you too.
Man. Happy holidays, man.
All right, you too. Guys, shout out to Mets and Jadarius for coming on. I really appreciate them. So shout out to them. Shout out to them for coming on. All right, let's move on. So we got a couple more topics here as we go throughout the show. Guys, as you're coming in, make sure you pound that like button. Get in the comment section. Love to hear y'all's thoughts as we continue out through the show. Love doing these call-in shows, guys. It's fun. I haven't done, we haven't really done it like that. I don't think I've done that like that. I don't know if I've ever done it ever. I mean, I've had, obviously we've done some collabs and stuff like that, but having you guys come on and the supporters, come on for the first hour of the show was awesome. And those 2 guys coming on, and, it's not easy coming on these shows, man. Like, I feel like for people, it's not easy, coming on and giving your thoughts, when it comes to, these kinds of things. And, so, my first time I ever did my first video ever on YouTube, I was nervous, but these guys came in and killed it. So shout out to them. And, if anybody ever wants to come on, I will, I'll do more of these call-in shows, every week. Maybe we'll make this every Wednesday kind of ordeal where, I have you guys come on and, run through some of the topics I've put together. I know I'm putting y'all on the spot with that, but again, it's always fun to hear y'all's thoughts. And that's why I love doing these call-in shows, because y'all are always commenting and always letting me know if I'm right or wrong. That's for sure. So, again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Don't go anywhere. We still got some more to talk about. So let's talk about Evero, Ejiro Evero. Okay. Because obviously in this coaching circle, in this coaching carousel, like we were talking about earlier, again, it's like auditioning for Dancing with the Stars. Let's be honest. Okay. Now, leading the pack is none other than Evero. He's been the maestro behind this Carolina's defense, and it's been a symphony of what he has done. And there has been whispers around him being a head coach, the potential of him being a head coach. And the burning question here is, who is gearing up to steal this man away from the Carolina Panthers? Now, this guy could also be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers, right? We don't know. All right. We don't know. Okay. Again, we don't know who David Tepper is going to try to go after. I mean, we all know that he's already been meddling with Ben Johnson, right? But again, the Atlanta Falcons, let's start with them first. Okay. Now, again, the NFC South, Dominic, gets a dash again of Evero's magic. Now, Evero is a defensive wizard. He held the Falcons to a mere 6 points, and that downright apocalyptic weather there. And Arthur Blank must have felt a tingling sensation inside of himself, right? A reset button for the Falcons could mean a prime head coach gig for Evero. And with that promising talents and the prospect of splurging in the salary cap, the Falcons might just be the canvas that Evero needs to paint his coaching masterpiece and kind of spice up that NFC South rivalry. Again, then you've got, of course, right? You've got the Washington Commanders. Riverboat Ron's out. You bring in Evero in. Now, I guarantee if Evero went there, he would keep Eric Bieniemy, and that would be a nasty combo. But again, I still believe that Washington, once they get rid of Riverboat Ron, I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be the number one guy there. All right, I think they're going to hire him. I think that's what's going to happen, and I think I think Bieniemy will be a great head coach. He's a culture changing head coach, in my opinion. He's an offensive genius. We've seen it. Kansas City is lacking because of losing him. We're seeing it now. But again, Washington Commanders could be a promising landing point for Evero because, right, you got the shaking standing might usher a new era because of what happened with Ron Rivera. Now, with draft picks, a budget that can make really Scrooge McDuck blush. Let's be honest, Scrooge McDuck blush. It really could. It might be a place for this defensive maestro to go. Now, Evero has ascended through the ranks at warp speed for a head coaching job, and it could be a curveball choice to spark a defensive renaissance there. Then you've got the Chicago Bears, right? There's a link there through this whole daring trade for Bryce Young. The Chicago Bears might find themselves a defensive messiah in Evero. Now, despite their struggles there, right? I feel that the Bears boast a lot of youthful pieces there, draft capital, and a lot of spare change. Now, if Matt Eberflus doesn't secure a future in the Windy City, which I don't see happening, Evero becomes a logical choice to weave some of those defensive magic and help the Bears rise like a phoenix. Last but not least, you got the Dallas Cowboys. And again, the reason why I'm bringing them up is because this could be a Big D's defensive gambit, right? Evero in the wings, right? It's a plot twist that is not as immediate, but just as intriguing. The Dallas Cowboys might be scheming an ambitious move if defensive coordinator Dan Quinn gets, because he is also in the head coaching mix of getting a head coaching gig. Jerry Jones is a maestro of bold moves. We've always seen that through them. He could set his sights on Evero, and coaching one of the league's juggernaut defenses in Dallas is a tantalizing prospect for him. Now, Evero, patiently bidding his time for a head coaching role, might find himself orchestrating the Cowboys' defensive symphony sooner than anyone expected. So again, in this coaching carousel of this world, there's a lot of drama. Evero, I think his destiny really hangs in the balance. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if it pans out. We'll see if he stays. We'll see if he goes. It all we'll see because I know right now in this kind of things with the NFL and the drama, everything's unknown. We never know what's going to happen. We really don't. AJ Brooks says Dallas would be very interesting. I think it would be too. I hope Evero doesn't leave. I can't see it happening. I can see it happening. Yeah, absolutely. I could too. Hoping he go anywhere but Atlanta. Yes, please. Absolutely. Who do you honestly think the Panthers are going to go for hire as head coach? Offensive minded. Yeah, I mean, Super Trebo, thank you for joining the live stream. Appreciate the comment. Again, yeah, I mean, definitely Ben Johnson's under that radar, right? He's young, offensive minded. He's got Detroit's offense in top 10 in basically every category that you can talk about when it comes to offenses. He definitely is a head coaching candidate. We already know David Tepper has been meddling in that Detroit, neighborhood, because in a league meeting, he spent a week with Ben Johnson's, in one of these league meetings that lasted like a week or something like that. He was in Ben Johnson's agent's ear the whole time, from my understanding. So, I mean, Ben Johnson seems to be contestant number one for, Mr. Tepper. Again, at the end of the day, for me, I just want a competent GM and head coach to come in here who can evaluate talent, who can build a team, and bring winning football culture back to Charlotte, North Carolina. And that is what I want. And again, Tepper is going to have to understand, though, that he's going to have to take a back seat, sit his ass down, and not get involved. Again, that's another thing that comes to this whole coaching vacancy, that's an issue, right? Because we all know that David Tepper's got the money. Money does talk. But at the end of the day, who wants to be involved with the guy who's trying to tell them what plays to call, what quarterbacks to draft and players to sign and all that kind of stuff? Again, we are in a era with David Tepper that I don't think we've ever seen as Carolina Panthers fans. We've also we're in other situations like Miami that's been in this situation with an owner, well, not necessarily an owner, but from an organizational standpoint, as a downward spiral. Miami was in that position at one point. Now look where they're at now. Again, now that it's a true rumor, Jadarius. Actually, it's a true rumor. It's a rumor, but it's a true rumor. Again, and then, you could also think about the Jets. But I've never seen an organization like ours that has been in such disarray, where it starts from the top of a owner meddling in football operations. You had a coaching staff texting your owner because of Frank Wright not adequately wanting to work on Bryce's footwork, not wanting to change the scheme up to benefit Bryce. I've never seen a GM who can't scout talent to save his life. And they've passed up on so many opportunities on great players that are now flourishing in the NFL. And again, it comes down to the fact now, it's like, can we get a GM and a head coach that are on the same page, and that, can we get a scout team and a GM that can scout players from an eye test and not an IQ test, right? You know if someone can play football, right? When you watch them play, right? So that becomes a big issue. Last but not least, let's talk about this. This is something we really, really need to talk about because of, number one, right? Let's break it down first, right? Because this is the final curtain call on this roller coaster for Brian Burns and this team. All right. This is a plot twist worthy of a blockbuster movie in the NFL. You enter Brian Burns, the stud edge rusher. He's caught in a whirlwind of contract conjuries, and the team is not signing him, not trading him. They're not doing anything. And it's a script that still is unfolding for me. Because again, let's talk about these things first. Number one, last year, you had a chance to trade this man away for 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick back in November during the trade deadline, and the GM said that Brian Burns was off limits. But then this upcoming season, right, he doesn't hold out, but he is looking for a contract extension, and he doesn't get it. So then that makes me concerned about this organization and this front office, how they are committed to their key players like Burns. Number 3. So now you have a choice. You either sign him or you tag him and you trade him. Now his value's gone down because he hasn't panned out in these last couple of games, right? Except against Atlanta. But before the Atlanta game, there has been a lot of inconsistencies. And again, could that be because of the situation going on here? What could it be? I don't know. But let's talk about the contract conundrum, okay? Let's talk about that first, okay? Because the contract conundrum, in a dance that could rival any Broadway show, the Panthers have waltzed away from enticing trade offers, which leaves Byrne in the lurch without the coveted contract extension he craved. Hold on one second, guys. All right, sorry about that. So now it comes down to the fact that you leave Burns in this lurch without a coveted contract extension. So the picture Burns as the leading man in a one-man show, okay? Expressing his desire to a new deal, right? And, you know, us as an audience has witnessed this Panthers team stumble through a Shakespearean tragedy of a season. Yet, through all this chaos, Burns remains the ever dazzling star and giving a performance that would make even a bard stand up and applaud. Then you got the franchise tag tango. So you enter the franchise tag, a looming shadow in this theoretical negotiation, right? And Brad Spielberg of the Pro Football Focus has painted a vivid portrait. He's ranking Burns as the fifth act in a grand production of 2024 free agents, which means the franchise tag is a plot device aimed at preventing Burns from wandering into the wilderness of free agency, keeping the drama alive and the audience on the edge of their seats. So, you know, Burns is a guy that's just seems to not be able to get away from us. Trade offers have, they turn down trade offers. We're constantly losing football games. You know, he's had a strong second half of the season, but he is on his way to his fourth straight pass rush grade above 70%, which is keeping his stock high in that chaos. And that's basically what Brad Spielberg broke down. So, again, it comes down to this. The tag and trade thing. You got it. So picture this, okay? You got a tightrope. It's stretched over the Grand Canyon of negotiations, okay? You either tag and trade, or you take a daring high wire act that could see Burns really could into a story arc on a contender, and the Panthers are hoping for a substantial compensation. A win-win situation on this page, though, even if it means biting a due to him, to a guy who's entering his prime. Okay, this is just an origin story for the gridiron. So then, or you build around Burns. Okay, you know, you get the deal done, you build around Burns. You got to be able to build that defense around him, bring in some heroes to help him out. You got to recognize the integral role that Burns plays in this defensive saga. The defense becomes that beacon of promise for this team, hinges on retaining its key characters. You tag and trade, a last resort twist that really threatens this to unravel the threads of a promising defense, like a poorly handled detective subplot, right? Now, today, there's just been a lot of mismanagement here. And I feel the frustration from Burns, honestly, because he has been unrewarded for his consistent excellence in the midst of a mismanaged team. Okay? A losing streak, a roster reshuffle, a departure of key players, right? We could talk about the key players that we got rid of, right? Denzel Perryman, you could say Hassan Reddick. The list kind of goes on there, right? And now Burns has just been that standalone guy until Derek Brown got here. You ended up getting Frankie Louvu. You're starting to finally see YGM kind of come into his potential a little bit, right? And he's probably just been wondering, where is, who else are you going to bring in to help me on the other side? They try to bring Justin Houston in. That doesn't work out. So we really have fumbled the script on this guy. We rejected offers, and then we let value pieces slip away. And that's just poor football management from an organizational standpoint. So we all want to cling to this thing, cling to hope, right? It's the flicker of a revolution that we'll see a deal. Hopefully we'll see a deal struck. He continues to be that linchpin in this Panthers defense. And it's an unpredictable world here in the NFL when it comes to negotiation, where big money deals and team dynamics collide. And the outcome remains uncertain. So an intermission that leaves fans eagerly awaiting the next act. So we're all waiting in anticipation what's going to happen here with Birds, because the offseason's coming up. All right. And we have to make some critical decisions this offseason. And this has been one of the focal points that we've been talking about this offseason, about rebuilding this team. We all want to bring skill players in. We want to bring in offensive line. We want to help within the interior. We want to help within the corner room, right? We want to help where all these holes are on this team, right? That's what we're all hoping for, that this organization will do. But will reason prevail? Or will the Panthers salvage a situation that just has been mishandled like any other terrible organization has done? This journey has to be resolved this offseason, right? It's not going to be done now. And we're going to have to monitor how this pans out. I think for me, you have to think about both. You have to think about the short and the long-term futures. So for me, this guy is coming into his prime. If you're not going to sign him and you're not going to build around him, you don't have a first round pick this year, you're going to have to tag him and trade him. I think at this point, I don't think he's worth the contract that he thinks he's worth of $30 million. And we all know why he thinks he's that, because of the Bosa deal. We always were hearing about how him waiting out for the Bosa deal. He never waited out. He still stood on business and still was coming to practice every day, coming to training camp, and still working his ass off. And he's still been playing for this team because that's who he is. And I respect him for that. But I think if we're going to make any choices for this man, and we're not going to do, if he's not going to be willing to negotiate around what I think he's truly worth, I don't think he's worth a $30 million contract. I really don't. I think he's worth around a $23 million contract. That's just my opinion. And another thing is that now with the inconsistencies at the first half of the season, his value has gone down. So that time where the Rams were offering us two first round picks and a second round pick, that value has gone out the window. All right. And again, if it's me, I have to think about this team's long-term future. And I think that you got to trade him because you don't got a first round pick. You got to see what you could still get a first round pick for him. Whatever else you get on out of it on the side, it is what it is. Because I don't know what else you could get for him besides a first round pick and maybe a third. I don't see, you possibly could probably get maybe a second, third, and fourth, maybe something like that. Which may be intriguing. I'm not too sure. I think it comes down to the fact, though, that you are going to have to trade this man at this point, because you have nothing else to stand on. What you need to decide to do is trade this man. You need to trade Dante Jackson, because that's another guy you need to try to trade, because again, Dante Jackson's cap and his contract is going to take a big hit to our cap space of $15.8 million in the 2024 year. So that's another guy you're going to need to look to trade. we have to think about rebuilding within the trenches, and it starts with the offensive line. And you can build around Derek Brown and Frankie Louvu, in my opinion. I think you could also make a case that YGM has been very helpful on that other side. Again, but then a lot of people want to make the case, well, without Brian Burns, you have no pass rush. That's true. But again, that's where free agency in the draft comes in. And that's why you trade for these draft capitals and these kinds of players to get the value out of them, to be able to not only get the pieces that you need, but also replace. I don't want to see Burns go. It hates me to even bring up this topic, and we're still talking about it. We've been talking about it since the offseason, before this even season started this year. Now it's just coming closer and closer to that offseason time, and only time will tell what the case becomes, especially if and when we get a new GM and whoever the next head coach may be. Again, we only time will tell, guys. I just hope we make the right decision at the end of the day. I hope that we make the right decision at the end of the day. It hurts me to continue to talk about this, but it is what it is. So, guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Appreciate Mets and Jadarius coming on in and giving their thoughts, coming on into the show. Maybe I'll start making this a weekly thing on Wednesdays for a call-in show for you guys to come in and talk about some Carolina Panthers football and the topics that I bring up. So again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure you pound that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be here again tomorrow. I hope everyone has a wonderful Wednesday. And as always, guys, y'all make sure to keep pounding. Peace.